Welcome back, everybody, to the Unhinged Christian Podcast. I have another guest today, Connor. How do you say your last name?
Widerhold.
Widerhold.
Yeah.
Okay, so tell them a little bit about yourself and what you do.
Yeah, so I go to GRCC right now for pre-medical, and I'm planning on going to the Air Force this summer to study cardiopulmonary, so heart and lungs, and eventually it's my dream to be a doctor. Yeah.
Well, what made you decide to be a doctor? What gave you that passion?
I think just my faith. I know that sounds like really cliche. I don't know. It's just something that I'm like, oh, God kind of has blessed me with the ability to help people.
Yeah.
And I think it's something that I'm good at. And so it's cool that I can use like different tools to actually like maybe save people's lives.
Have you done anything in that field on a basic level yet, or has it just been you're doing the books right now?
Yeah, I'm basically just doing the books. I'm surrounded by people who are becoming doctors. One of my friends is 1 year out from being a doctor right now. So a DO, which is pretty cool. So I get to hear what he's experiencing and going through.
Has he done anything such as doing surgery or watching it happen yet?
Yeah, he's watched in on a couple of surgeries and things like that. That's just something you do when you're in residency and further up.
And is there any fear on your side of when you actually have to do surgery? Or is it like you're ready to do it when it comes?
I mean, I'm not going to be a surgeon. I want to be a family doctor. So I want to work.
What exactly does a family doctor do?
Just like your normal family doctor that you go to.
Just like a practitioner?
Yeah, just a normal family.
Okay, so if I go just for like a checkup, that's kind of your thing.
Yeah, that's basically what I do.
Gotcha. Okay. Yep. Every time anybody says doctor, I'm always thinking that they're going to be
surgery.
Like, ER. I don't know why. All right. So now that we know all that, let's get into it. What is it like for you being a Christian in Gen Z?
Yeah, I think that's a really difficult question just because even I'm still figuring it out what it's like to be a Christian in Gen Z. I didn't commit my life until last year of being a Christian. So I'm kind of new to it and figuring things out. But
did you grow up as a Christian?
Yeah, so I grew up in a Christian household, but it wasn't talked about at all. My grandma was very religious. Yeah, that's about it. My grandma was just the religious one. My parents didn't really talk much about it. And
is there any pressure for you to fall into any of the things of the world?
Yeah. Oh, geez. Especially nowadays, I think it's so easy to just be peer pressured into doing things like drugs and alcohol, especially now, because it's just so accessible and easy to get.
Uh-huh.
Yeah.
And there's a lot of Christians that do that kind of stuff. Like they claim they're Christian in name only, basically.
Yeah.
And so I think it's hard because when they're Christian, they're doing it. It's like, it's easy to fall back into that kind of stuff.
That's so true.
I'm 30 and it still happens.
Yeah. Sometimes you just fall into drinking there. It's very easy because it's right there and you can just do it.
Yeah. Well, I don't mean I fall into it frequently. Yeah. I'm just saying like there's people my age who are calling themselves Christians and they still are doing the things that they would have done when they were of the world.
Yeah.
Tell me more about what it's like for you being a Christian at GRCC. Like what can you tell me like what your experience is like?
Yeah, I mean, I feel like a lot of the time I'm learning that I need to express my faith and spread the gospel. Going to college, I try to do the best I can to spread the gospel, whether that me walking up to people and just speaking to them about it openly. And actually in one of my classes, it's a lab class, so we're just doing chemistry work. And basically there's a person next to me who was just preaching the gospel to someone, and he got him to go to church again, which was amazing. It's like so cool.
Is it difficult for you to just go up and approach random people and talk to them about it?
Yeah, I think it's really hard. I think it's really scary. For a lot of people, it's really scary to just come out of their shell and just walk up to a random person and start preaching the gospel. That's not something that's normal in this world.
No. What does that look like for you when you go up and talk to them?
I mean, a lot of the times people don't really like listen, or they'll listen to you and be like, "Oh, okay, cool," but they don't really care.
Yeah.
They're not mean about it, I feel like, a lot of times.
Do you ever feel any level of embarrassment when they talk about it that way towards you? Just they don't care?
No, I don't get embarrassed. It's my job as a Christian to spread the gospel. So if they say no, then that's their choice.
Yeah. And has anybody ever attacked you for it?
No, I don't think so. I personally have never been attacked. I've had friends and family members who have been attacked, but right now I haven't been.
Like physically they've been attacked or just...
No, like wicked words, verbally.
Okay, yeah.
Being a Christian Gen Z, it's so important to look at the statistics and facts. And I feel like, if you look at it, 4% of Gen Z worldwide is Christian or says that they're Christian.
Only 4%?
4% worldwide, and about 46 to 50% in the US, which is a crazy statistic.
That's almost half.
I mean, half in the US, but worldwide too. But yeah.
What is your church life like?
Church life?
Yeah.
I didn't start going to church until almost a year and a half ago. I go with my girlfriend right now and her family. So it's really nice to have that kind of community. But I like my church. I've been to a few churches that I don't really like their sermons or how the pastors speak about the Bible.
What's a sermon? What's an example? You don't have to give names, but what's an example of a sermon that you wouldn't like?
I think just that's a very specific question. I mean, it kind of depends what they're talking about. But I've heard people like speak about like historical events and then comparing it to now, and that's just something I personally don't like. There's like a way of going about that they don't do a good job with.
Historical events that have happened within the last 500 years, or the historical events of the Bible?
Like the historical events of worldwide, like
they might use World War II for an example or something.
Stuff like that. Exactly.
Yeah, that is annoying.
It's just touchy.
Yeah, it's like they are just taking something and putting their idea of what the Bible could mean in it, and it's just like not how it's really supposed to be.
Yeah.
What's an example of, so what kind of church do you go to now? What denomination?
I honestly don't really know. I want to say denominational. I go to Orchard Hill. It's on 3 Mile, off of 3 Mile.
Oh, so that's the Reformed one.
Is it?
Yep. My buddy goes there, actually.
Oh, really?
His name's Andy.
It's awesome.
Sarmiento. He does, I don't know, I think he does the sound there. But
oh, yeah. Is he shorter?
Yes.
Yes, I know Andy.
With the glasses?
Yes.
Yep.
Yeah.
That's Andy. That's funny. Small world. Mm-hmm. So what do they teach that you do like?
So they have 3 pastors. They have a main pastor, and then they have 2 other pastors.
Okay.
And one of them kind of focuses on evangelism. So she's really vocal about going out in public and doing things, or going to people's places for dinner, or inviting them. And I think that's really cool, because it's important to not only sit in church and listen and read more about the gospel and the Bible, but it's also important to use that and go out and serve God.
Right. And what does the teaching on Sundays, like, you don't have to give me a specific example, but a general idea. Is it more like biblically centered, where they take a passage in the Bible and they just preach out of that? Or is it more topical, where it's something like how to get rid of idols in your life or something like that?
Yeah, I think it depends on the pastor that's preaching, but usually we'll do some that are topical, so topic specific, and then we'll also do ones that are very biblical. So we're looking at some Hebrew language and looking at location and connecting it.
Nice. So it's a little bit of a mix of both.
Yeah, which is really nice. I really like that.
Yeah.
I think it's a very good church. Yeah. And I think a lot of the times pastors have a hard time with being authentic, because I feel like authenticity is so important. And in order to have authenticity, you have to be vulnerable. So,
yeah.
Yeah.
By authenticity, do you mean struggles of their own life, or?
Yeah, just struggles of their own life, or just other people sharing their struggles, I think is so important, because the Bible teaches us, to listen to our elders and to learn from our elders. Yeah,
and it's hard to learn when they don't necessarily act perfect, but it's just like they act like nothing's going on in their life. Exactly. They don't really talk much about their life. That does make it difficult.
Yeah. You
go to these enlightened, what is it, a worship night, or is it a gospel presentation?
Yeah, so they're all over the country. There's this girl by the name of Olivia Williamson. She created CYC. It's called Claim Your Campus. So it's an app. Basically, you can go to your high school, create a group, and you can go on this app and it'll have like prayer time, and it'll have like a little Bible verse that you can talk about. And so she created that. And then she created Enlightened Worship, which is a high school hosted event all across the nation. So there'll be like leaders for it. So you can be on a Zoom call with them, and they'll lead you through the Enlightened event and be like, okay, this is what you're going to do. This is how you're going to kind of promote it. So whether it be flyers and things like that. And then you have the event, and it's all led by high schoolers. They have to basically, there's a leader, high school leader, and then they have to collect people like maybe band members or worship leaders. And that's something that I was a part of last year. I was like a prayer leader for the events.
Yeah.
And my girlfriend was the actual like worship leader of it, or leader of the event. And there's another one coming up soon. So yeah.
In April, right?
Yeah, April 28th at 6 p.m.
Now, do any of the people, like the leaders, have a theology degree of some sort?
No, that's the cool thing, is it's all Gen Z ran. That's the point of the worship nights, is to just have Gen Z people just leading a worship night, and anyone can come, whether it be like parents or anything. Wouldn't
it be a little important for somebody there to have some degree of theological knowledge?
I think because it's not a sermon and it's more of a worship-based event, we don't really need that like theology, and because it's supposed to be raw, it's supposed to be authentic, like I was talking about. These are kids that are in Gen Z being vulnerable and sharing their testimonies and stories and what they're going through.
Yeah, I mean, where I'm coming from though is, I'm not like, I don't want to have a huge, massive debate, but when we're talking about our relationship with God, and there's the theology, which is the knowledge.
Yeah.
When it comes to me, it's like, I think there's problems with going too far both ways, or leaning too far one way, I should say.
Yeah.
If you're way too theological, but there's no relationship, it's like, what are we doing? Because then it's just knowledge. But if we're way too relationship, it's like, we can't have a relationship with someone that we don't understand. Mm-hmm. And that's where I think the study of God and having like a little bit of a theological background is important. You say it's just worship, which is different because they're not preaching a sermon. Okay, that's fine, but worship is still a very important part of our Christian walk.
Yeah.
And I do think that they would be helpful if someone there had something of some type of knowledge.
Yeah. Or like, what kind of knowledge are you talking about? Like a degree in something? Or because all these kids attend church, and they have like different theology groups, like Bible studies, and so that they're a part of.
Yeah, I mean, as long as I don't really know, because I don't have a theological degree myself. So I don't know how important it really is for worship leaders to have a theological degree. But I think when there's some knowledge of, because it's hard, they're in high school, so they're not going to have a seminar class for high schoolers. That's where it's difficult. So that's where I started this podcast, is I'm still on that journey of, is it important for worship leaders to have a theological degree?
Okay. Yeah.
And so I'm just asking your opinion, because in my opinion, I think that it is, because I've seen a lot of worship leaders. It's like, why is this 8th grader leading high schoolers in worship? It's like, I get that they have the relationship with God and they've grown up Christian, but it's like, do they really understand God, is where I'm coming from.
Yeah.
Because just because it's an experience doesn't mean that it's actually God.
Yeah, that's true. Because your emotions might just be tied to the world and not God. That makes sense.
Exactly.
I don't know. That's a really hard question.
I know.
That's really difficult to figure out.
It is.
But I mean, personally, just like, I believe that, you can worship God anywhere, and no matter who you are, and you don't necessarily have to have all this knowledge about God in order to worship Him. I think a lot of these events are just so that people are like, oh, well, this is kind of who God is, and this is kind of what it feels like to worship God. And it's kind of their choice to be like, well, do I want to continue with this? Do I want to maybe try to go to church or go to different Bible studies at maybe even my college or in this high school, things like that. So it's not meant to be like a teaching. It's kind of meant to be evangelism, essentially.
And what is your best, like, what do you think is a good way to go about evangelizing? Because we can do the soft approach where it's like, okay, we're not giving you a lot, but then what happens if somebody goes to that and then thinks, okay, I'm going to figure out Christianity, but then they get to it and then there's all this mention of sin and they start reading the Bible in depth. And there's some pretty weird stuff in the Bible of the Old Testament if it's not taught properly.
Yeah.
And that's where the soft approach, I think, can go wrong because it's attractive. Because I've been to worship nights. It's great. It's fun. Sometimes the music is catchy. The people are friendly. Okay, that's awesome. But then it's like when you actually start to get deeper into Christianity, it gets hard to continue to pursue it. Now, there's the opposite, because I think the opposite of crazy is still crazy, where there's people with the signs that are like, if you don't repent today, you're going to hell. It's like, that's not necessarily attractive either, because they're not really, when we read about Jesus in the Bible, he fixes people's physical needs and then he tells them to not sin. So what does it look like at these enlightened things with the evangelism? Is there any mention of repentance, or is it just worship night and then if you want to check out Christianity, you can later?
Yeah, I've been to 4 of them, or I will be to 4 of them. I've been to 3 of them, led 2 of them, or like helped to lead 2 of them. And so I don't have total experience in it, but I know it's not about repenting. It's not about, well, like he'll forgive you for your sins or stuff like that. It's just strictly a worship night. And then at the end of it, like they say, how you can even come up to us and speak to us if you want to and learn more about it, kind of a thing.
Yeah.
Or like, what's your next step?
Cool.
Yeah. Which I like, that's really nice.
And how long are they usually?
Yeah, they're usually an hour and a half. The next one coming up, I really want it to be something huge, something big. Because last year there was 200 people that came, and I'm hoping that there'll be a lot more, maybe even double. But it's hard to get the word out there, especially when there's so many non-believers or people that would rather prioritize other things over it.
Yeah. And you said it is for people who are even older than high school? Like if a 30-year-old showed up, would I be weird?
A 70-year-old could show up. Yeah, it doesn't matter.
How often do older people show up?
All the time.
Because I definitely want to check one out. I don't want to sit here and...
No, all the time older people show up. At the last one, there was probably like, I'd say 8 or 9 adults there.
Well, are they parents of the high schoolers, or are they just like...
Some of them were just adults from the community.
All right, I'll have to check one out then.
Yeah.
It's April 24th, right?
April 28th, 6 p.m. at Byron Center High School.
Okay. I'm hoping to get this one out before that so people can know.
Yeah.
So April 28th, 6 p.m.
Yep.
Byron Center High School.
Yeah.
In Byron Center, obviously.
Yeah, and they have an Instagram as well. It's Enlightened Students.
Enlightened Students is the name of the Instagram?
Yeah.
Any spaces?
Nope.
Okay. Well, let's go back to you being a family doctor. Is there any interest in helping with mental health?
Yeah, I'd say I have a huge interest. I think as a child, I wanted to be a therapist. I still want to be a therapist. It's just something that isn't going to work out for me.
Why is it not going to work out?
I just really, I don't know. I just don't want to be a therapist. I think I just want to help people in another way. I feel like as a doctor, I can help people not only physically, but also mentally. But I want to do a lot of research in the mental health area, especially with Gen Z. I think just like mental health issues are such a huge deal nowadays. And I think connecting to the Bible, a lot of people think that a lot of illnesses or mental health is because of God. Or like, if God was so perfect, if God was so amazing, then why did he give me, these struggles? And I think that's a very common topic and common debate.
Oh yeah, trust me,
it's hugely common.
I mean that little clip of Logan talking about bad things happening was just like big on YouTube, at least for this small channel. And tons of comments. It's like why bad things happen, because I don't personally think that God gives people depression or anxiety. I think it's a result of living in a fallen world.
Yeah.
But how would you go about helping people as a family doctor with mental health as opposed to being a therapist?
Yeah, I think it's going to be so hard in my field one day because I'm going to be, I'm very faithful in my faith, but it's not something that I can share when I'm helping people, which is really hard. So I kind of have to learn to help people with the way that I speak and the way that I just show myself, if that makes sense.
Yeah, showing like the joy of the Lord.
Without actually speaking it, which is hard, and it's very hard to do. And it's something I'm going to have to get used to.
But what would you give them to help them with their mental health? Is there like physical things that they would be able to do to help them, or would you just give them some type of medication?
I think personally I'd stay away from medication. I've been on medication. I know how it feels. It can mess you up.
Yeah, me too.
Yeah, it can mess you up. And I feel like a lot of people know that doctors prescribe these things because they can or because they just want extra money. And that's reality. And that's something that sucks. But I would personally just try to get them into therapy, like a psychiatrist or something. I think that's the first route to everything. But it's so hard nowadays because therapy is so expensive.
Yes, it is.
A lot of people don't go to therapy because it's so expensive. I think that's so bad. And it's a huge issue right now.
I think too is, now I want to start this off by saying that yes, I do think that mental health is sometimes actually problems with the brain.
Yeah.
I'm not going to tell anybody to get off medication.
Yes.
But I think that a lot of times it can come down to our diet. It can be you're not getting enough sunlight. Mm-hmm. You're not exercising enough. I think especially with Gen Z and even millennials a little bit, being on your phone so much is a mental health killer.
Yeah, I think social media is so impactful in so many ways. It's so bad.
Yeah. You're comparing. Also just sitting on your phone, you're not doing anything.
Yeah, and I think Gen Z is kind of looking at that. And I mean, from my point of view of being Gen Z and being surrounded by people that are Gen Z, not Christian or are Christian, and so many of them preach or are so adamant on making, like I was previously saying, like being authentic, like making an authentic Instagram or social media platform, because a lot of social media is polished. It's, you can take it, polish, and this is what I want to be viewed as, or this is what I want to want people to see me as. And I feel like now Gen Z is trying to like show that this is my authentic self. This is who I am. This is what I'm doing. And I think that's really cool that they're trying to do that or push that more.
Yeah, like showing the bad sides of their life.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. Is there any videos of people like crying and stuff? Is that what they do? Because I don't really see.
Yeah.
I mean, I guess I could say I'm not really on social media a lot. I'll go on and post a reel just to help promote the podcast, but then I'll delete it because I just don't like not delete the post, but I'll delete my app. Yeah.
Yeah, that makes sense. I think I agree with you on that.
But how do people show what is it that they do to show their authentic self?
Yeah, I guess who they are as a person, depending on what they believe in. A lot of my Christian friends aren't afraid to post things about God and about Jesus, whether that be them speaking to a camera and just talking about some Bible studies they've done or the gospel. And even people like other worship nights, just like they have videographers for it, and they'll just show like raw like footage of them worshiping.
Do you ever think that camera people and stuff kind of get in the way of authentic worship? I understand the reason why we have it, but at the same time, it's because I used to play at a big church and I'd be on stage and it'd be like somebody up in my face
with a camera.
And it was just really annoying for me because it takes away from
people viewing you,
and also
you worshiping God.
Yeah. And for me, it kind of takes away almost the authenticity.
Yeah.
What if they weren't there? Are we still going to worship the same way? Or are we just hyping it up or doing, or am I just raising my hands because there's a camera?
Exactly.
So do you think that it ever can take away from the authentic worship in a way?
I think absolutely it can take away from authenticity of it. I've seen people like next to me, they'll look at the camera and then they'll put their hands up, or they'll like bow their head down or things like that.
Yeah.
So it's true. It happens. But I also think that I feel like we need people to be videographers because we need to show the world what is going on.
Yeah, it's kind of a win-lose. You're going to have people who are...
It's something you have to do. It's something that's like social media exists and it's going to exist forever.
Yeah, there's nothing we can do about it. And if we have the platform, we might as well.
Yeah, because so many people have come to Christ just through social media.
Yeah, because they can look it up. People are curious about the truth. They don't know what it is. Maybe there's a bad church in their town and they don't know what to do. Or maybe they're scared to go to church at that point because they're afraid they don't know anything. And in that way, yeah, I think social media has been helpful. There is some good that comes out of it. It's really like a win-lose thing. There's going to be the bad, but then there's also the good.
It's true. Yeah, I agree with that.
Sweet. Well, do you have anything else to say about the mental health? Otherwise, we can end this podcast. We're at about 30 minutes, so that's a good...
That was 30 minutes?
Yeah.
That's crazy.
You surprised?
Yes. What did we even talk about?
All sorts of stuff. It happens. It just goes.
What's that?
What's what?
The notes.
That is I write down each day what I practice on my bass.
That's cool. Do you have anything to talk about?
Not really.
Me neither.
All right. Well, Connor, thank you so much for coming on, and I hope to see you again on here and have a blessed week.
Thank you so much. You too.
Thank you.